I never worried about clearing anything before I sampled it or even uploaded it into my DAW or anything. Like, nah. Like, I don't even, nah, you're going to give yourself a headache.
What's going down? It's DJ Pain1 for Beatstars.com. I have the pleasure of not only introducing a new member to the Beatstars community, he just joined, but also of interviewing a producer with a really dope resume, Willie B. What's going down, sir? Appreciate you taking the time to sit down.
What's going on, man? I appreciate this a lot, man. How you guys doing?
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're a multi-platinum producer, and those plaques are for Forest Hills Drive, Oxymoron. What am I missing?
Forest Hills Drive, Oxymoron, Blank Face, and I think Section 80 just got to go, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, congratulations on that. I didn't realize that. Digiphonics is part of TDE, as I understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you link up with them?
I linked up with them through a old friend. She passed away. Her name is Lori Joe. I met Absol through a Lori Joe, and that's pretty much how I got linked up with TD. Was through a Lori meeting. Me meeting Ab through a Lori.
And you just instantly started developing some kind of working relationship with Absol?
Yeah, pretty much. He was the first person I shot beats to over there. Yeah, it just kind of flourished from there, and then I just started linking with everybody else after that.
Oh, that's dope. So literally the first artist that you ended up shopping beats to became a career-changing move.
No, he ain't the first artist I've ever shot beats to. Shooting beats to artists locally for a long time out here. You know what I'm saying? I was definitely working really hard to try to get my name heard. Just so happened TDE at that time for sure was the squad where I felt my sound meshed with them the most because of how skilled the rappers were. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much what it was. They heard of me as well because I was around LA, doing beat battles and all this other stuff. So it wasn't a thing where it's they didn't know exactly who I was. It was he already knew who I was. I knew who they were. We just needed a link, and just so happened it was my homegirl. You know what I mean?
What year did this all go down?
This is from 06 to 2010 type stuff. The grind was really for real for me started in 06, but 2010 is when me and them linked. For real linked.
Okay, so it wasn't really after the huge rise. It was kind of right around the time things started really going well for them.
They was buzzing locally at that time. This was pre-Dre, all that. Yeah, like I said, locally we all knew about each other. We was all kind of doing our thing locally. You know what I'm saying? And I respected what they did. They respected what I did. Like I said, we just needed a link, and that's how we linked.
So speaking of other career-changing moves, in spite of all the pushback we've seen against internet producers lately, especially over the last year, you decided to join Beatstars and create an online catalog of beats. What made you, as a producer with major music industry credits, decide to start selling beats online?
First of all, the online beat market is a huge market. It's become a huge market. So it's why not? You know what I mean? That's simple. Why not?
Why do you think there's so much resistance in the, I guess we'll call it the traditional industry sphere, to this new online beat selling market?
I don't know. I think it's retarded. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? For what? Why is there resistance? I can't answer that. It doesn't make sense to me. To me, there's a lot of skilled producers that's online. One of my homies is Epic Beats, Epic the Don, and Curtis King. These are really, really good guys. Really, really good, dope producers. And it's so because they sell beats online, they shouldn't get a shot. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, shout out to Epic and Curtis King.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about Curtis King. Did he have anything to do with that decision to start selling beats online? Because I know he was one of those producers who went from kind of being married to the whole idea of placement to suddenly building his own brand online, and then he won as a result.
Yeah, I would say he had a lot to do with that. I won't say a lot, but he definitely was a muse behind it because I've seen how he's flourished from it. And I respect a lot of his opinions and a lot of the advice that he's given me and things like that because I've seen how well he's made it a thing for him to make it work,
So on that subject, for me, back when I was first getting my first kind of wave of placements, I was getting a lot of messages from upcoming producers asking me, how do I get placements? Now with the changing market, I'm getting a lot of producers contacting me saying, I'm putting my beats online, I'm not getting any sales, what's going on? And a lot of producers are getting frustrated. But a lot of the messages I receive from them are, something to the effect of, I've been doing this for 5 weeks straight. I've been doing this for 6 months straight. I've been doing this for a year straight. How long did it take for you to actually become a career producer, just to give people some perspective on timing and expectations?
A career producer, it took a while, dog. I mean, it took at least, like, I want to say 5 years. I mean, but that was like I said, 5 years for me wanting to do it professionally. Like, I was just making beats at one point. I was just making beats and just to make them because I like to do it. I wanted to do it professionally, but at the time I was just kind of like working a job and I didn't really know anybody to whatever. And then 5 years later, bingo.
In addition to kind of being impatient and not managing expectations well, another mistake that producers make is they want to keep up with musical trends to compete with their contemporaries. And
Right.
I personally had to learn the hard way that, if I was making beats that had the same energy as the top producers out right now, or if I was trying to sell beats online and compete with these highly competitive keywords like Drake type beat, the stuff that everybody's doing, I wasn't going to get very far. Did you struggle at all to find your own sound? Not only find your own sound, but also stick to making beats that were your own sound, in spite of it not necessarily being consistent with the current musical trends?
No, no, it wasn't hard for me at all. I just like to be who I am. That's how I've always been. That's just who I've been as a person naturally, even when it wasn't music, even in school, even in socially in school. Like I was always popular and known for being me, bro. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I never tried to be like somebody else ever, ever, ever. So that was my thing. You get what I'm saying? So I can't really like say there's a formula or an answer to that. Like, I just always liked to do what I wanted to do, and people respected it. Like, some people, because everybody is, as they say, sheep. You know what I'm saying? Everybody likes to follow trends. Like, that's just how the world operates, and that's cool. But yeah, dog. Eventually, people just learn to accept it. I suppose as time goes by, they just be like, okay, well, that's just what it is.
Is that advice that you would give to other producers? I mean, a lot of people are a lot of producers out there are trying to compete in these saturated kind of spheres online,
Well,
or
it just depends on, not to cut you off, but it just depends on what you want. You know what I'm saying? If you're doing it for the check, then yeah, go chase a sound. You feel me? But if you're in it for longevity and you want to be known for having your own sound and being some kind of like moniker towards a certain type of frequency or new frequency or something, then yeah, you got to duke that out. You gotta go through it, bro.
so on to the process of producing. You sample quite a bit in your beats. This blows my mind. A lot of producers to this day will express these anti-sampling philosophies, and we both know that sampling can complicate a placement somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
But when a lot of these anti-sampling conversations come up, the detractors will bring up, unoriginality, and that's kind of a conversation that's just like beating a dead horse. But they'll also bring up the whole fear of legal repercussions, and a lot of producers have that fear too. And I've never actually spoken to a producer, so this is a rare occurrence for me to actually speak to a producer who was involved in a sample clearance lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for Kendrick Lamar's Rigamortis, which you said was off of Section 80, which just went gold.
Right.
And just to be perfectly clear, you're still making sample-based music, right?
Sometimes I've kind of like strayed away from it just because I've done it for so long. I just started creating this new sound as of recent. You know what I'm saying? And I just like to reinvent myself every so often. You know what I mean? But here and there, if the sample's good, then I'll touch it. I mean, because I can't shake it. If it's a sample that speaks to me, then I'm gonna cut it. I'll just say that a producer or up and coming producer or whatever you call yourselves, I just think that you should make and create based on what you feel. If something makes you feel good, then create it. Um, if samples is what makes you feel good in a certain point in your life, then fuck, just cut all kind of samples and make beats out of the samples. If you get it to the right artist, obviously their budget might be able to take care of it, and you get the right lawyers, you might be able to negotiate, percentages that could be to your advantage. Even though sometimes with sampling it could get a little crazy because the sample holder and owners, they're gonna take majority of it off top because it's their right to. But nonetheless, though, um, that's what I say. I don't think it's a bad thing to sample. I think sampling is still cool. You know what I'm saying? As far as methods of sampling, I mean, I like flipping. I like looking for stuff that is not obvious. I don't really like vocal samples. I'm not big on vocal samples. I don't like vocal samples.
Let me pick up on something you were saying about the process of sample clearance and how the owner of the sample can potentially take a big piece of a producer's ownership in the record. I recently spoke with the legendary producer Digga about sample clearance, and we both agree that a lot of producers and recording artists are confused about the process, and a lot of them believe that producers have to legally clear the sample prior to even shopping or selling that beat to artists. And his answer unequivocally was no to that question.
Yeah, I agree. Same answer.
So, in your experience, what is the sample clearance process to those who don't really know it?
I sample the beat, make the beat, shop the beat. If a certain artist of a certain caliber takes the beat, loves the beat enough, they want it that if they want it that much, and they label sees that they want it that much, or they believe in that record that much, the label or their budget or whatever is going to pay for the sample to get cleared. Simple as that.
So very simple. I think a lot of people complicate things.
I'll tell you this much. I mean, for the rest of the producer, I've never worried about sampling any. I mean, I never worried about clearing anything before I sampled it or even uploaded it into my DAW or anything. Like, nah. Like, I don't even. Nah, you're gonna give yourself a headache.
So back to the Rigamortis track. I know that I believe I read it in an interview that you did that after that track came out, that was a major career boost.
Super.
How, if at all, were you affected by that lawsuit?
I was affected a little bit. I mean, more so on a personal level. I mean, but that's something I kind of like don't really want to talk about because, it was personal. But not towards TDE or anything. Like, I was on their side. Like, but that's a whole nother story. And that person knows what they did. And it is what it is. And it's all good now.
So basically, it wasn't career ruining. It wasn't this awful thing. Yeah, okay.
No. Because I got the cold placement. I got mad placements after that. So it's like, nah, nobody cared. If you nice, and it's not gonna matter.
So let's pick up on that. So back to your catalog, which is impressive. How did you develop?
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
And the records are dope. They speak for themselves.
Appreciate it. Real talk. I really appreciate that. Seriously.
How did you end up developing relationships in the industry to the point where you were able to work with all these artists? Because going from TDE to J. Cole, that's quite a range.
Well, like I said, like I've always said it in so many interviews, even before I even got records placed on these guys, man. And man, you just gotta always strive to make the dopest shit, man. That's just it. Like you gotta always make sure you making dope records, man. Like that's it. You just gotta concentrate on the dopeness. Just be dope. Just do dope shit, man. That's it. Like, don't think about nothing else when you creating, dog. Just be dope and create dope shit, bro. Period. That's the reason why these guys fuck with me.
Would you say there's a major social element to working with these artists?
Definitely. You definitely got to be personable in some kind of way. I think I'm a pretty cool guy. You know what I'm saying? People think that I have a dope personality. They say I have a bright personality. They think I'm funny, things like that. So, I mean, a lot of that helps. You know what I'm saying? But some people it don't work with, and that's just how it is sometimes. But you shouldn't let that stop you either. I mean, sometimes people are not meant to be like work buddies and friends. They're just meant to be work buddies. You feel me? They want your product. You give them the product, cut the check. They do what they do with it, and they'll come back to you next time. But I've been able to make some pretty good relationships with these guys because some of these guys are really really cool. So
I ate a barbecue sandwich with J. Cole once a long time ago. That's my J. Cole story. I've never. I was an early supporter of his career when I was working in radio, so it was a good sandwich. Back to Curtis King. You've gotten a lot of placements, obviously, but I heard in your interview with Curtis King on his podcast that in your mind, brand building is more important than placements.
For sure.
For the people watching this who really don't have that perspective yet, what are one or two of the most important steps you've taken to brand yourself?
Man, the one of the two most important steps that I've ever taken was meeting my partner, my partner Jose. And because he's the one that made me realize that that's what I needed to do. Like, I didn't understand that aspect until I met him, because that's what he does as a living. You know what I'm saying? So that was the key. I met him, and then from there, my mind was open to it ever since.
So what was that conversation like? What did that lead to?
Well, he's one of my best friends, so that conversation was like, yeah, dog, like, you need to make sure that you live forever. Like, you can't just exist in these records, bro. Like, you got to exist outside of these records. And that's that's exactly what he told me. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it made sense to me for me to understand exactly what I needed to do. When he said, yo, you need to live outside of the records, made perfect sense. Perfect sense.
So let's break down your brand a little bit. So in addition to producing these beats, you're also creating content for producers, and you're also releasing musical projects on your own as an independent entity. What is that all about?
I have a company called Champions Only 98. I've taken a couple artists and worked on projects with them. Currently, I'm working with Daylight. He's known for being like one of the best battle rappers, antics, troll, whatever. Me and him actually have a relationship that stems all the way back to like 2004, 2005. We both kind of came up under the same humble beginnings, literally in the same venue and everything. I was beat battling, he was battle rapping, and we've known each other ever since then. Then he went off, became Daylight. You know what I'm saying? And I went off and became Willie B, and then we just ended up linking up again, and now we're here again, and have another artist named Jay Anthony. And that's just pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, I like to make music. I just like to make music, and I don't want to box myself into just strictly going, chasing a placement and chasing other artists who already have their other sound. I want to build my sound and build sounds and new sounds with newer artists. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, for me, it's always just been about the fun of creating dope shit.
And you and Daylight already have a project that's out, correct?
Yes, sir. It's called Let There Be Light.
How can people find that?
You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Music, all digital music platforms, Tidal, yada, 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 yada. And we have a site called LetThereBeLight.com. And it's Let There Be, like the letter B, and LYT, like how he spells Daylight.com. So, yeah, that's how you can find it pretty much.
You got another project in the works with him?
Yeah, we got another project in the works. It's called Heroes. And that will be dropping sooner than soon. So, yeah, look out for that one, because that one is going to be pretty nuts.
All right, so beyond the music, if people are watching this, they want to pick up your beats, browse your online catalog, pick up your drum kits, where do they do that?
Man, ichibandon.beatstars.com. That's where you can go for all of that. The kits is on there. And I got some pretty cool stuff on there as far as the beat selection is concerned. And hopefully you guys go ahead and check that out and, have fun with that.
All right. Well, once again, Willie B, I appreciate you sitting down and sharing your experiences and sharing your perspective.
You guys, man. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you.